Alright, that's good enough. Now it's time to solder the points in, which I'll just zoom in a little bit more. Now it's time to solder the positive, the negative, and the positive in. Which it's very easy to do. All you have to do is just use a lot of solder on each end. There you go. Negative. Hey, let go. Make sure all the points are soldered all together. And now you can start with your diodes. Now, in order for you to read the diodes, you gotta look at what the diode looks like. And the diode looks like this, if it'll focus. No, I don't think it'll focus. 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 No, it won't focus. But the diode, what it looks like is it has the whole black end, and then one end is just like one straight strip. So all you have to do is just sit there and bend both ends to like a little U shape, like so. And then all you have to do is place the positive end outside of where you're gonna put it. So let me zoom out. Oh no, that's it. So all you have to do is find out which side is the negative. So plug the negative into the positive and just feed, well, that's a little bit off. So feed it right through there. Okay, and that's a little bit hot. Okay, and all you have to do is just sit there and move it any way you want. Which I do want to have the resistor in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this prong over here. Oh no, not over here. Over here. It'll take some time to actually put the diodes in, but once you have them in, it'll look great. So have this crossed over, have this over here, right there, so it'll look like that. And then here's the next diode. Do the same thing, but this time you want this one on the other side. Negative to positive, positive to positive, route it right in, get in there. Alright, bend it the way you want to bend it. There you go. And that's what it looks like on my end. So let's go ahead and solder these points together. Actually, before we do that, what I want to do is go ahead and bend these a little bit. Like so. It won't hurt it for bending. That makes it much cleaner. That way you have it more flatter to the surface. So let's solder these points together. Alright, I gotta move this point out of the way because it's in the way. And there you go. Those are the diodes that I put in. Now, I can actually clip these extra wires off, which I'll zoom in for this. Zoom in. Alright, so now I can actually clip off these extra wires, which you don't even need any extra wires. So using a regular nail clippers, you can actually clip off the extra ends. Now I don't want to clip these two ends over here because I need extra room for play. So I'll just move these pins out of the way. So off is next to, next step is the 270 ohm resistor. One of the resistors that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Get my 270 ohm resistor. It doesn't matter which way you put it in, as long as it's in there. And this side is for my low beam, which would help out a lot. So just put the resistor any way you want in this casing or in this board. Messed up on that. There you go. Much better. I know y'all can't see anything because I'm out of the way and I want to stay away from that solder machine. So bend it the way you want to bend it. Have the solder points in place, which I'll just have it like that. And then solder the points together, which I'll be showing you. Oh man, I messed up. I messed up a little bit. I messed up. There you go. It doesn't really matter. It's in there. So now it's on to the wiring. Okay, next, the wiring. And this is what you need. Any kind of wire actually works as long as you get the 20 gauge wire, but my dumbass self got the 18 gauge wire, which you shouldn't be using, but I'll just use it because that's the only wire I could get. So let me get my scissors. I'm gonna cut a decent size off. Oh, they right about here. A decent size. So now it's on to exposing the wire, which is kind of hard to do. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect my solder machine. If I can. There you go. Disconnect that so I don't burn myself in case, or just in case. There you go. And here's your positive and your negative in, and this is going to your LED board. Alright, now that I got all my wiring hooked up, this is what the back end looks like. It's got the positive and the positive and negative soldered to the negative point. So now it's time to go ahead and wire this to the LED board. Alright, now soldering the points together, you gotta figure out which one's your positive, which one's your negative, which I already have it marked on the board. So now it's time to go ahead and solder these points together. Leave me some extra solder on this end. And solder in a little more extra solder on each point. Yeah, as you can tell, kinda not very much, but yeah, I had left a little bit of extra solder. So now all I have to do is just solder this positive or this negative end, which I'll show on this end. Kinda. There you go. Now that the negative is on, time for the positive. Now I think I need to get some more soldering tips. ahead and get this. Now since I don't want to touch this end, because it's going to be a pain to actually get this wire in, I'm using my nail clippers, not with the steady hands. And there you go. Now it's all together, all to the main board. So let's go ahead and add our positives and negatives on the main board for the turn signal light. Alright guys, now that I have all the wires hooked up, my positive and negative ends are all hooked up together. You can see that it's all soldered together with the LED board and the main board. No more soldering is required. So now it's on to the little connector for your vehicle. So you don't have to sit there and strip wires on your vehicle to make the LEDs work. So all you have to do is just sit there and bend every single wire on the connector, on the little connecting piece, to actually get it as straight as possible, like what I'm doing right now. Let's see, it's just about there. There you go. Now it looks like little prongs coming out, and then all you have to do is just sit there and wiggle the light out. Now I finally got the connector off the bulb, and now all I have to do is just slide the bulb right off. And now I could just discard this or keep it. It doesn't really matter. It's just a light bulb, so I'll just place it somewhere else. And now all I have is this connector. Now on this connector, you can see that there are 4 holes on it. So me, because I'm dumb, I apparently got the 18 gauge like I said earlier, and this you probably need the 20 gauge solid wire, solid copper wire to actually fit in this. So let's go ahead and see what I have here. So right here I have this little screwdriver, which would act like a little punch to hole punch through each connector. And in order for you to tell which side is actually negative and positive, which one's high beam and low beam, on standard vehicles, one side is basically negative, the outside is high beam, and the inside is low beam on the other side. So you just got to look at your little connector to see what it looks like in order for you to know how to hook this thing up. So I'll come back later after I get the holes punched and the wires put in. Alright, as you can see here, I have my LED board, my main board, all the wiring, and I have the connector. As you can see that the wires are actually poked through. I used a hole punch to actually punch the hole through. Now it's time to put the LEDs in the lens, and before you actually do that, all you have to do is just adjust the lights at the right angle to actually make it face forward for the vehicle. That way people ahead of you can actually tell if you're actually turning or you're not turning. It makes it look really good in the vehicle, or really good for the vehicle. You gotta adjust every single LED to actually face forward. It doesn't matter if you are OCD or something like that, you gotta make things perfect. Just make it the best you can. And then all you have to do is just slap the LEDs in place, which they actually align pretty well, pretty decently in there. It's not very snug, but the little panel, the little, I would say the casing will actually keep it from moving. So just bend the wires the way you want to bend them to actually make it fit. So now it's time to put this on here. like so. And then all you have to do is clamp down on the casing for the lens. And it seems like the lens, the casing is actually keeping the LED board in. So all you have to do is just sit there, snap the lens back on. As you can tell, it's all snapped in place. Now it's time to add the screws. Hands are very sweaty. Let me go ahead and turn off this AC. Okay. Screw it all the way in. And this casing actually has 3 screws. One thing for sure, when you install this, make sure that all the holes are actually covered up to keep the circuitry from corroding away due to weather. Which I'll be doing that in the future as soon as I get the right kind of stuff to actually seal up those big holes. And here you go. This is my finished project. Now let's go ahead and put it on my vehicle and see what it looks like. Alright, now it's time to put this LED light in and let's see how it goes. Disconnect the other battery or bulb. Alright, now that everything's in, let's go ahead and test it out. Alright, and there you go. There's the LED light. Works pretty good. As you can see on the other side, they're all the same. Now one thing that's different is that because this truck doesn't have any load resistors in it, apparently you gotta have load resistors in order for the hyperflash to go away, and this is what the hyperflash looks like. Now you don't like that hyperflash, don't you? No, you don't. So yeah, in order for you to do that, you gotta order some load resistors, which I'll be linking a website with the load resistors, probably eBay or Amazon, either one of those, to actually keep the hyperflash from flashing that fast. So this is my DIY project, and next video will show you how to actually install a load resistor on your vehicle.
All I need is the DJ. I don't need no love, all I need is the DJ. I don't need no love, all I need is the DJ. I don't need no love, all I need is the DJ. I don't need no love, all I need